All right, let's go. There we go. Now let's see what happens. What the? All right. Huh, 12 volts. Let's turn on some heat. Uh-oh. So just as I figured, this is a pretty much brand new battery from May. And I haven't had any issues out of it. Truck's running kind of rough. So I'm gonna check my alternator. I'm gonna show you how to do that. So with the vehicle running, get a multimeter out. We're gonna set it to volts DC at 20. And we're gonna hook our probes up to it. So if you haven't known, red to positive. Let's see if we can jam that in there somehow. There we go. And black to negative. Yeah, I don't think that's right. So typically, your voltage while running should be something like 14 volts. I'll go ahead and shut this off. Actually, before I do, let's turn the air on for a second. Now we're at 10.5 volts and quickly draining. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it's running like absolute garbage. Here's why. And you can see how much the voltage has actually dropped up, or risen up, I guess I should say, since I've turned the vehicle off. So the normal charging voltage when the vehicle's running should be about 12.9 to around 14-ish volts, depending on the vehicle. But for this vehicle, that's normal. You can also see that it threw a code of a P1682, which is a Mopar specific code for charging system under voltage. So if you have a multimeter laying around the house, which a lot of you do, it's definitely worth purchasing one if you don't. Basically, that's one way to check your alternator. Obviously, the second way is turn on accessories if the truck bogs down or you get a low battery deal or something like that, like I did. Then you can pretty much bet that's what's going on. So it looks like I'm going to have to end up replacing the alternator in this truck. So, ooh, zoom out. Which is over here. And I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so step number one, we are going to disconnect the battery, ensuring that we do not hit any this metal on any contact there, because it will short out if you're on the positive battery terminal. Let's see if I can work that out one-handed. Lay that aside down there. Most people don't take the negative off. I'm going to. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Okay. So number one, this protects us when we're taking the alternator off. Number two, it keeps us from having any more draws on that battery. Okay, step number two, locate your tensioner pulley on this Dodge 5.9 360. It is on the passenger side at the, yeah, I know I'm using a torque wrench, so what? On the passenger side near the alternator. And we're gonna put a little bit of tension on that. You see that belt double up there. If you can hold that and pull the belt off, that's what you're gonna need to do for step number two. I can't do it with three hands, so hang on. All right, so the belt is now off the pulley. I don't hear any weird noises, but like I said, I suspect that it's bad. Now typically these have brackets on them, as you can see here, and it looks like this alternator has got two bolts that hold it on. Some people say go ahead and undo your connections in the back. I'm actually going to pull this off first, and then I'll show you what's going on. Alrighty, so the top bolt up there is a 9/16. Take it out. You've got another 9/16 on the back. You'll need to put a wrench on and then a socket in the front. Oh, jeez. Okay, so once the bolts are out, a little bit of prying, this just comes loose. All right, so the back, you're gonna have two plugs to take off. It's gonna be this square looking one, which its bolt is at the top, and then this one wire that's attached there. Okay, so a total 1 fib. One more down below. It'll have to come off, and then this plug goes that way. Okay, once that's off, pull that. All right, so I lied. It's actually two tiny little 6mm bolts that hold the voltage regulator on. And not anymore. All right, so it's the next day. Sorry, not sorry. I haven't done much. Took the old one out. Like I said, that connection there is two 7mm bolts, and then it pulls off like that. And then you can just kind of pull these AC hoses up and kind of fish it out. So this is the new alternator, and I'm getting the cables hooked up. So like I said, I want to make sure that these two 7mm get on there and tucked in. And then you've got two ground leads, one up there and one down here, which we took off, you saw in the video from earlier. And that, let me look here, is going to be a 10mm. So the porcelain cover, it goes over the main battery wire, broke here. Who cares? So now we got all of our wires hooked up. We just got to get it in the original position. All right, so I've placed the bottom stud in there. Place the new shiny bolt on the end of that. Sorry, the camera's a little out of focus and getting worse. So that only leaves the top one here. If you put the bottom one in first, the top one will go in pretty easy. You'll just have to pull it back, line it up, and tighten it down. And again, for this one, you'll want to put the wrench on this end, the ratchet on this end, and you'll just need a ratchet up there. So you'll notice as you drive the bolt in, that little center plate tube thing there will kind of go into the center of the alternator. And that's by design, that's normal. All right, so we've got all connections made. Wiring looks good. Bolts are in there tight. So the next order of business, minding the original belt diagram. Like I said, we didn't remove it all the way. So we just want to make sure that we get it lined up. And it's pretty close. You want to make sure that belt goes underneath the idler pulley there. See how it's kind of loose there. Put our breaker bar on and push it toward the driver's side of the truck and try to pull that belt on and make sure it stays flat at the same time. Unfortunately, I don't think I can do that holding the camera. I'm gonna set it here. This may or may not work. All right, so with the belt fully lined on the pulley like that, and all pulleys, make sure it's not setting over to one side, and just release the tension on your bar there. Kind of pull it too a little bit. Everything's turning. Belt and alternator is fully connected. Next, we connect the battery. Okay, so minding polarity. Then we'll hook our battery back up. And again, on the positive side, again, positive is red. Not abnormal to hear a couple of crackle pops when you put that back on. Is it still the same size? Yeah. And we're going to tighten these down. All right, so everything's hooked up, battery's good. Now we're going to do what I call smoke test. Basically make sure all the wiring's good. So we're going to start it if it starts. I don't know if it will because that battery was pretty dead last time. But we do have power. And let's see if it starts. Now we're going to look for the battery juice to jump up to 14 this time. And may have to jump it off. Yeah. Alright. Hang on. Alright. Jumper cable's hooked up. Smoke test try number 2. Voltage is a little bit higher. Okay. Okay. Let's check our connections. Take 3. After fixing our connections a little bit. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. Truck's operating on its own now. And everything looks good. All right, let's remove our jumper cables. All right, so I've killed the wagon. Everything looks good right there. Let's go check the battery voltage. say that's a lot better. All right, we're gonna let that run a little bit and see if it charges the battery yet while we clean up. Okay, so while we're at it, we're gonna go ahead and try our multimeter. Remember before, with the air off, we were at 11 volts, and with it on, we were about 10. Right now, it's off. So let's see if we get a better reading. Crank it up. 14 volts, that's pretty good. All right, let's crank the air on. Truck seems to be running more normal now. So that compressor clutch being engaged is going to use a little bit of power. 13.8, but a lot better than 10. Alrighty. Now that it's had a chance to charge for a minute, I'm going to shut it off. And let's see if it charged the battery any. Yeah, much better. And the old trusty Jeep. No problems. Except for the very terrible brakes. Oh, and all the auxiliary gauges, they just quit working. Got our core packaged up, ready to go. YouTube does not like YouTube radio music. My wipers seem like they're a little bit askew to you. Ah, there we go. So anyway, yeah, you want to make sure you take that core back if you bought a reman. Just realized I didn't shut the hood on the Jeep. If you bought a reman, because you will get some money back on that. That's a little video on how to test and install a new alternator on your 2nd gen Dodge. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one.